As a gigantic fan of the MCU that can also be critical of its shortcomings, I actually really enjoyed Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness, but not for the reason you may think. I'll get into that in just a second, but for now, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. On this channel, we talk about all things video games, comic books, movies, anime, and more. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode like this. While I definitely had some problems with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, there were definitely some things that I absolutely loved, and at the end of the day, I had a blast with this movie. That's what I want to talk about in today's video. Because honestly, this was, for the most part, exactly what I wanted from a Doctor Strange sequel. Starting off with some things that I loved the overall feel of this movie. Like I said, this is exactly what I wanted from a Doctor Strange sequel. Had a lot of Strange, and we had a lot of Wanda, the Scarlet Witch. And honestly, when I first heard that Wanda was going to at least appear in the movie, and then I later heard that she was going to co-star in the movie, that was enough to sell me on it. Which kind of leads to my next point, is that I loved this movie because I went into it blind. And while that wasn't the case for many people, obviously they saw the trailers, interviews, TV spots, all those different things. I went into this movie completely blind, and I was so surprised when, spoiler alert, Wanda turned out to be the actual villain of the movie. And because of that, I was absolutely floored when just about 10-15 minutes into the movie, we were just introduced to the main villain of the movie, and honestly, I had originally thought that she was maybe going to be like an introductory villain, and then maybe sort of get her stuff out of the way to make way for the big bad of the movie. And the fact that they stuck with her being the big bad and the ramifications that has on the MCU, given who she's been this whole time, that just really floored me. I had no idea that was going to happen. Obviously, some of the trailers had hinted at that. There were some trailers that dropped just before the movie came out that pretty much said that, she was going to be the villain for the most part. You didn't quite know if she was going to stay the villain for the whole movie, but for people that watched the trailers, that was no surprise. But for me, absolutely floored me, and I absolutely loved it. And the fact that they brought in Sam Raimi for the director of the movie, wow, that was incredible. I think that Sam Raimi really brought a unique touch to the MCU with just not being afraid to go into the horror vibes. I mean, honestly, some of the scenes of her coming down the hallway or coming out of the shadows and coming out of the mirror and things like that towards the beginning of the movie in that first chase scene, like, wow, some of that stuff was just beautiful art that just really came alive on the screen. Not to mention all the crazy visuals, especially that musical note fight towards the end with Sinister Strange, and just all of the other just amazing visuals of him crashing through the different universes. That was incredible. But speaking of the other universes, here is where the movie started to kind of fall apart for me a little bit. But before I get into that, definitely drop us a like and subscribe to the channel. Dropping a like and subscribing is the biggest way that you can help support this channel, and it helps to let me know that you like this content and want to see more of it. Now, with the universes and just the premise of this movie being the Multiverse of Madness, the title itself was a bit of a disappointment for me. So again, I didn't watch the trailers, I didn't watch any interviews, I didn't watch any TV spots, hardly saw anything past the poster and the short news blurb that Wanda was going to co-star in the movie along with Doctor Strange. And because the title literally said Multiverse of Madness, that leads a certain amount of expectation that you're going to see a lot of, well, the multiverse. You're going to see a lot of universes. And for 10 seconds, we got to see that. And I know many people have talked about that, about how this movie doesn't quite live up to the name, it doesn't live up to the marketing. For me, I agree, because the fact that it was titled The Multiverse of Madness, that already kind of set up expectations, especially with the fact that the multiverse is supposed to be a big deal in the MCU, it's supposed to be the big bad, it's supposed to be leading in with Kang and all of those things. And so the fact that they really leaned into that with the title of this movie really gave off a lot of wild theories about what could happen in this movie, all the leaks that were going on of who was going to appear in the Illuminati, and the fact that they even included the Illuminati in the trailer. I mean, obviously you have to have interesting things in the trailer to help bring in people that want to watch the movie. But for the most part, I feel like this is a movie that really could have benefited from it being a somewhat generic trailer as far as just kind of showing some action scenes, not really going too deep into what the movie is going to be about. and also honestly just ditching the multiverse part of the title. You could have done so many different things. I mean, obviously I know it's a little bit more interesting to call it Doctor Strange and something else rather than just calling it Doctor Strange 2. Again, interesting title, title choice to do things like that rather than just a simple number. But the fact that they called it Multiverse of Madness really leaned into heavy expectations that I don't think they really delivered on. Now, yes, they did have that 10-second scene of them crashing through about 10, 15 different universes, but what really would have been nice is even in the universes that we were in, which for the most part were 3 universes. Our main universe, the universe with the Illuminati, and then the universe with Sinister Strange. Now, again, I'm fine with the amount of universes that we were actually in for an extended period of time, because ultimately, set designers and just in reality, you can't really be jumping through a bunch of universes, and for the average audience moviegoer to really feel connected or tied to any of these places. So from that aspect, I understood why they kind of stayed in 3 universes for the most part of the movie. However, what would have been better is maybe even cutting out one of the universes, maybe even cutting out Sinister Strange's universe, or somehow melting those 2 together and really expanding on the universes that we were in. Now, with our main universe, they obviously don't really need to expand and show the whole world and really build out the world to help it feel livable, since we've been in that universe for the past 20 plus movies. However, what would have been better is in the Illuminati universe and the Sinister Strange universe, if they kept all 3 in the movie, really would have been better to help build out a little bit more of the world to, especially in the Illuminati universe, maybe have some families, that he's actually interacting with, or maybe a particular family that he's interacting with that is slightly different than a family that is in the MCU. Maybe if Ms. Marvel had already come out at the time, then maybe we saw a variant of the family and just sort of him interacting with the family there. And so we already have some familiarity with the Ms. Marvel show that we have, plus this variant version of her. And when Wanda is going crazy and doing all these different things, then you can really feel what these incursions are going to do as far as the weight of these incursions and the lives that would be lost in them if you actually spend some time with some people to have any kind of real emotion, to have any kind of stakes that are built into the movie. The only stakes that are built into the movie are people telling you that incursions are bad and people will die, but you don't spend any time with any of these people to really feel anything. So for me, honestly, that was kind of the letdown of the movie, was basically the fact that it was marketed as the multiverse movie. And for me, as somebody that didn't even watch the trailers, I felt let down purely by the title alone. But maybe this movie was the tip of the iceberg for you. Maybe you are feeling some burnout from the MCU. Definitely watch this video right here where I talk about my own MCU burnout and how I feel about the MCU as it is today, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.